Hi, everybody. We're back today with another episode of Howie's Hometown Heroes, where we feature business owners, entrepreneurs, and community members who are doing extraordinary, amazing things right there in their community. Today, we're in Cyprus. You know where Cyprus is? It's a little corner of the Mediterranean between Greece, Turkey, and Israel. Really kind of an interesting place that you might not stumble across if you're walking down the street, but that's where we are. And we're here today talking with Xenia Economidou. She is a hypnotherapist and life coach, helping people all over the world with their traumas and understanding where they're going, helping people find and achieve their passions. I think that's really an awesome thing. You hear all the time of people wandering and not sure what to do. Why am I in this? Why am I here in the first place? Lots and lots of stuff. And she creates that for people, not just in Cyprus, but this is what's really cool is Europe, Australia, the US, like everywhere. I can imagine soon she'll be doing astronauts in outer space for all we know. So that'll be a lot of fun too. One of the things that she really, that's fine, right? That's fine. How do you get into that? What she tells me is they had the courage to leave a very important high-level, high-tech cybersecurity job to do this. So I mean, that comes with a lot of passion for helping people to be able to give up something that was relatively secure to do something that may be a little bit unknown. And there was her. So you can almost think of it as a trauma maybe, or a fear, but she overcame her own fear to be able to help people move forward. And not being afraid to work with people who have really kind of serious traumas and stuff. And one thing she gets to do that I don't get to do for sure, she lives near the beach. She can go to the beach every day. Whether the water is warm or not, it doesn't matter to her. So she's in there. So Xenia, this is great to see you here today. I love this kind of conversation.
Hi. Thank you so much for the introduction, and I just loved how you linked everything we spoke about together. Amazing.
Yeah, and so tell us a fun fact, something that would be like way off the wall that we wouldn't know.
All right, so a fun fact would be the fact that I'm writing theater. I'm very much into theater, and one of my passions is to write my own theater plays, and at some point in the future, direct them.
Wow. Oh, that's pretty impressive to be able to do. But so many different talents you have. I mean, I don't even know where to zero in on something. That's very fun. So we'll see you on Broadway, whatever the equivalent of Broadway is in Cyprus. I don't know, but we'll find it there.
The ancient Epidurus theater in Greece. We'll meet there for one of my productions in the future.
Ah, there you go. So it'd be like the big Colosseum with all the people wearing robes and stuff, and against. Yeah, okay, nice.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, that's gonna be a lot of fun. Okay, I'm definitely coming to opening night, whatever it is. So that'll be fun.
Love to have you there.
There. So tell me, what was that epiphany moment? You're working in cybersecurity, big, super high-tech job, big companies, all that kind of stuff. I'm going to assume the pay was pretty good. I'm just going to assume. To move away from that with relatively secure lifestyle to something to pursue hypnotherapy and life coach. What was that trigger that made you do
that? Thank you for asking this. It's one of my favorite questions. So I'm an engineer by background. I studied in the UK, first class honors, which is merit and scholarships for my master's degree in information security, and then worked abroad, mostly in the Netherlands, in European agencies, in the private sector as a cybersecurity professional, and then came back home in Cyprus, where I was working as an information security officer. And even though on paper, I mean, everything looked really good, right? Based on the society standards, but everything that happened the past 3 years, it forced me to evaluate my life. I was thinking myself at 90 on my rocking chair, like, looking back at life and trying to locate the feeling, the dominant feeling. And what I was getting was regret. This is one of the main exercises from Tony Robbins, but just he asks you to go to imagine the end of your life and look back and see what you're actually feeling and seeing. And what was coming up for me was regret. And I felt that, like, at the end of my life, if what I had to say was that I looked great on paper, it would feel like a wasted life. And I wanted something more, and I didn't know what. And I was following, like, for over a decade at the time, personal development and all these courses. I was just into Marisa Peer for educational purposes. I never imagined it would be my new profession and mission, right? But it was just this evaluation of life and where do I stand, and if I'm proud of myself and how I'm showing up. And the answer was no. I wanted more interaction with people. I wanted to create impact. And you can create impact through cybersecurity, right? I mean, keeping people safe and companies, but I wanted the immediate interaction with people. And then I was following all these courses about how do you make your mess into your own message. So wanted to break through with making a difference with overcoming our limiting stories and childhood traumas and everything we've been told that we are actually not, right? So yeah, just make a huge shift into the unknown, and it led me into hypnotherapy.
Wow, very good, very good. Have you, so I'm going to say, like, why, I don't know, that's not why hypnotherapy, but did you have hypnotherapy for you? Did someone do that with you? Did that drive you that way, or it just sort of came up?
All right, so what happened, right, was that, I mean, throughout my year, I had years of therapy for different reasons, and they were talk therapy. So I never had a hypnotherapy session, and I was actually one of the people that had a very negative idea about hypnotherapy and a huge prejudice. So I completely get where people are coming from when they have their own resistance to it. And how it came to be was that I came across Marisa Peer and her course on a platform I was a member, right? And during the first lockdown, when we were not allowed to be outside the house unless for work or grocery shopping, right? I would spend hours and hours just doing courses and watching interviews from experts and everything they had to share, master classes. And that's how I came across Marisa Peer. And I was so prejudiced at the time. I was like, she was at the bottom of my list, right? But I had so much time, and I wanted the tick next to her name that I did everything I could have done, like all the master classes. And I always want to be like on top of what's happening and what are the experts talking about. So I watched her masterclass. It was playback. And she was talking about what RTT is all about. RTT is the Rapid Transformational Therapy, which is the hypnotherapy approach she developed and refined. And it all sounded pretty promising. And at some point she said, all right, let me demonstrate like group hypnosis, what it's all about. And I was like, no chance this works, right? Over a playback. I mean, come on.
Not even live.
Not even live.
It was recorded.
Yes, it was recorded. And I was like, no chance you can hypnotize people through a recording. And I was like, okay, fine, let's just get this over with, right?
Get this over with.
Because I wanted my tick right next to her name on my list. So I just followed the steps, and I was like, okay, fine, let's see what this is all about. And I was so certain I would not see images. Like, I'd love to. It was something I really wanted to, but for some reason I was certain it wouldn't work. And she did a hypnotherapy regression on how and when the I am not enough belief was triggered and how we adopted it and now live by it. How is it affecting our life now? And this is one of the main beliefs that we all carry. And it's not a matter of psychology, it's part of our structure, because as humans, we are dependent in the first years of our life. We need to feel enough and loved because it's linked to our survival. And if not, we die, right? So this is into everyone. And there is a way to locate how this was triggered during childhood most often, and how it is that we carry today as adults and it dictating different areas of our lives. So we went back. She took us down the 10 steps. We did the suggestibility check, which was like, she says, you have a balloon and a bucket, and my hands were moving, and I was like, okay, this is fun. And then she took us back to scenes from childhood when this was first triggered, and I saw the images. And the great part with hypnotherapy is that you're not reliving the traumas, you're actually observing them.
Observe? Oh,
so yes, so people can get emotional if it's something like very traumatic or sad, but it's not relieving. And then she helps you to let go and eliminate them from your subconscious mind. So it's very liberating. And she took us to, like, I saw the images. I remember actually listening the words, "You're not enough." And
really, so people told you that when you were a child?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
And it was just amazing because it went to so much depth. And the fun fact with the subconscious is that it replies with images and feelings, right? It's not like ego making up stories and so forth. And the subconscious only replies with the truth. There is no manipulation. So whatever you get from this, I mean, many times people ask, is it true or am I making it up? And it takes some time to be able to understand like how the subconscious works, because we're not used to having a dialogue with our own subconscious. So we cannot recognize, but through hypnotherapy, the images that come are the absolute truth to what we asked. We asked individual questions, and the answers come through images.
And so there are things there are the images that you saw were things you hadn't thought about for decades. Right?
Yes, there were images, there were scenes of my childhood when things happened that I felt not good enough, and I adopted that as a reality, because as children, we do not have the ability for critical thinking or questioning things, right? Up to the age of 7 or 8, which means that whatever happens, we accept it as a reality, but unfortunately, we also distort it because of like being just a few years on this planet, not having a point of reference, not being able to compare. I mean, it's like when we say, you don't get to treat me this way, I deserve better. We can only say that, for example, if we know what's our worth, what's a good behavior, what's a bad behavior, and us being able to compare, having a point of reference. As children, we do not have that. And at the same time, our personality is formed until the age of 6 or 7, which means, who are we, right? What is our personality formed based? I mean, what's the reality that forms that personality? And also the fact that the conscious mind is 5% and the subconscious is 95%. So whenever we say, this is how I define myself, we are only aware of that 5% of the time. And that's why 95% of the time, when habits come out, or when behaviors we adopted, or beliefs we did not consciously select, express themselves, we're not even aware of it. And that's why, I mean, people get to have different opinions of us because we show up, if we show up for the 95% unconscious time, we don't even know who we are. And more often than not, we are functioning based on patterns from our parents and the surrounding we have. And yes, it's not something we are aware or conscious of, and it's not something we chose. So,
and do we have any? And is there any control over that? If you know, I mean, first of all, I'm thinking of a couple different things. It's so critical to be a parent now. Like, oh my God, what do I? If I say the wrong thing, my kid's going to be a mess. You know? What?
Yes, I mean that's the thing that there's. Besides actual physical trauma, right? Which, I mean, it's pretty obvious the damage it can have on a child.
Sure.
The rest is up to interpretation. And as children, we are great observers, but the worst interpreters. And it's like, imagine, I mean, this was a true story, and I usually use it in interviews or when talking to people, from a woman who, as a child, she was just one day, she was her father took them to a toy store, her and her friend, right? And her friend asked her father, "What can I get?" And he said, "Anything." And I mean, the guy was trying to be polite to the like girl, right? And so she can tell her parents, they bought me this, you know, I mean, he was trying to be polite. And what was registered to his daughter was that everyone loves everyone else except me.
Except her. Oh my gosh.
Can you? And then it's like, how can this even happen? And the reason is because when she would ask what she would get, he would say only one thing, or only one thing under this price, because he was teaching her boundaries, right? But she didn't know that at the time. She it's not something he explained or she could understand. So for her, what was registered, that even my own father doesn't love me. Even my own father would love, you know, a stranger over me. So she adopted this belief that love is not available to me, and everyone else gets to have love in their life except me, and for no good reason, right? So until as an adult now, she gets to view this and choose to let it go, and now decide what is the truth, right? I mean, the truth is that she gets to have love in her life. She gets to be loved. She gets to show love, and that's how she gets to experience it. And she gets to have like-minded people who are supporting and loving. I mean, that's the truth, right? And if someone doesn't go back to evaluate these limitations, to actually be aware of them in the first place,
sure,
there is no way around them. Self-esteem, confidence, relationship issues,
all kinds of things.
Yes, motivation, achieving goals,
sure,
fears, or all the fears, fear of rejection, fear of failure, fear of shame, of abandonment, of loss, addictions, all of the addictions, depression, stress, anxiety, all of these are symptoms. And people are aware of the symptoms. So what they come to us with, the RTT practitioners, they come in with the symptoms and say that, I mean, this is causing me harm or pain in my daily life, or I'm not operating in my the way I would love to. And that's when we take the symptom and then we go to its root. And once we discover the root, then them can now have the choice to release it and replace it with the truth.
Interesting. So, I mean, I'm not even sure where to ask. I mean, it sounds like everybody, I almost said literally, like everybody has had some kind of trauma, or trauma is a strong word, unknowing that something happened to them decades before, and now they're dealing with some stuff. So like everybody's got to go through this. Everybody's got to go through your evaluation and get them out of the trauma and the mess that they're in. Sounds like an impossible thing, right? Everybody's
that's the thing. By definition, until the age of 7 or 8, and of course, after that, but especially until then, when no filters were in place, by definition, we all adopted like distorted perceptions of reality and our own self-worth without even knowing.
Without even the parents didn't know,
right?
No, the kids don't know. The parents didn't know what they were doing anything wrong or right, or they do the best they can.
Yes.
And you're never going to. Wow, that's crazy. That's crazy. So
yes.
So let's go forward a little bit now. How long have you been doing the hypnotherapy, helping people out?
So I've been doing this for a bit more than a year now.
A year? Okay.
Yes.
And what kind of success stories have you had so far? What kind of things have you?
I mean, I've had, yes, amazing success stories, even through our training, which began 2 years ago through exchange with our classmates. I mean, it's a procedure, a method that you see the results immediately. And the impact is so big. For example, some of my own success stories with clients would be abusive relationships, women in abusive relationships, addictions, because addiction is a symptom of a distorted belief, right? Once the belief is eliminated, then the substance loses its weight, its value, and it's so easy for people to overcome them. And I just love these big shifts. Working with depression, stress, anxiety, and different symptoms, to be honest, but especially addictions and mental health, depression, for example.
So like drugs and alcohol or cigarettes or any of those, those kinds of addictions, you can most literally turn them off.
Yes, because more often than not, like one of the most common reasons for addiction is that something happened during the childhood that made the individual feel small or like the odd one out or rejected because they were too young. Like you're too young to stay up until midnight and everyone is staying up late, right? You're too young to do this, and it's reasonable. I mean, it's something you would expect parents to do and say, right? I mean, parents more often are not doing anything wrong in these cases, and the child feels such a strong desire to feel big, and they link alcohol to being big or powerful or strong. It's like you cannot have this because you're small, right? The alcohol, for example, and everyone is drinking, and they link the alcohol to being small, and they link everything to being small. So to them, it's registered that if I have alcohol, it means I can have everything else.
It means I'm big.
Yes, it means I'm big and strong, and I get to decide. So in their adult lives, whenever they feel that they need control, like whenever they feel they're losing control over their life, or they don't feel as powerful, or things are slipping away, they need this feeling of strength, they just go for alcohol. And even though it's destructive and making things worse, for them in the subconscious, it actually works. It's like, now you're powerful because you are the one choosing it, and it means for you to drink, you're big. And if you're big, it means you get to have and do anything you want. And it's just it's unfortunate how distorted the interpretations can be, but this is pretty much how it works.
Do you think you went down that path? Is there any special skills that you think you had, or that you had to learn before taking the hypnotherapy classes?
I mean, my own path, I believe that, yes, being intrigued, curious, interested, willing to be uncomfortable and do the work and practice, of course, and study. And I would say my own story with depression and challenging times, and the fact that I was also in therapy for years, mostly psychoanalysis and some coaching. I got to learn so many things about how like the family dynamics work and how the mind works, but in a very painful way. Like psychoanalysis is very painful for someone who's going through challenging times, right? And it takes a lot of years to have a breakthrough. But you do get to see things differently. You do get to understand things differently, and to see the patterns, to recognize the patterns, and through coaching as well. So I had my own story with my own challenging times, and psychoanalysis and other like modalities of therapy, and of course coaching and following personal development and Tony Robbins. And now I had Marisa Pierre explaining, answering all of my questions and me seeing them in practice as a practitioner. And that's what I love saying to people when they ask me about a specialization. I say, I mean, 100% it's depression. I know it inside and out, like to the point that people just speak to me and I realize that we don't have to do hypnotherapy. And I can see, I know what they think. I know the patterns. So I think our own stories makes a huge difference, but also my journey seeking answers and breakthroughs, and of course doing the work. Like,
Yeah, sure.
it's,
And you
I
can,
mean,
and you've been,
hypnotherapy, yeah.
right. So, and you've been doing this a while, so you can, that's interesting that you can see what's going on in somebody's head without even being hypnotized, just by the way they speak and act and communicate
Yes.
with your body language. I'm sure everything goes.
Yes, definitely. And depression, I mean, most of the times depression is just people not being connected to their own truth, not being connected to themselves, not
Because they
following the
just don't
life
even
they
know.
love.
Because they don't
Right?
even know. Right,
Yes.
right. So now looking at the last couple of years of your life, even before, even with if you blend in the cybersecurity work and all the training you did there, and then pandemic happens, oh my gosh, and you move down this path, and now you've had a lot of success with your own patients or clients around the world. Would you say you've gotten to where you are through hard work and tenacity and learning and all that kind of stuff, or maybe a little bit of luck? Where would you go?
I would say, yeah, it's based on the intriguing mind. I find that a huge virtue, like to be curious of things and wanting to investigate. And I remember I was like, once I got my certification and was creating my new social media, and I was, new identity, right, as a hypnotherapist and RTT practitioner. And I was thinking, how can an engineer become an art? I mean, it's like from day to night. I thought they were not at all related, right? And then I was thinking, but what if my background is actually an asset? What if the way I've learned to look into things, to think them over, to connect them, to make sense of them, and to figure things out, is actually an advantage I get to have when we enter someone's, when we have a dialogue with someone while in hypnosis, like with their subconscious, and knowing where to turn, what to look for, how to connect them. Because at the end of the day, I mean, in hypnotherapy, we learn all about how the mind and the subconscious work and limitations, and we're given obviously the scripts. But once we go back to the scenes, there is no script. It's on us. So I believe that my own advantage is my story, like being able to understand it and feel what people are going through, but also my training as an engineer and a cyber security professional, like being an investigator and being able to look for, like the false positives or connecting the dots. It makes perfect sense. Like, if you consider the mind like a computer or a circuit. And I'm not in favor of this. I don't enjoy thinking of it as a computer because it seems like artificial or fake. We are living beings, we are real. But the way the mind works, that's why people talk about programming and conditioning. That's how it literally works. It's like code, right? If someone says no, it means they don't love me. If someone says I can't make it, it means I'm rejected. It's literally like code. And I'm thinking, what if my training is an advantage of when people are in hypnosis, me being able to even better guide them and navigate through the subconscious to find answers.
Very good. So you put all those two things together, right?
Yes.
Two things that you're right, it's seemingly different, but kind of, the way you describe it, kind of work together. What is it? It becomes your superpower to be able to put those two things together. So this has really been awesome. I really appreciate you coming on the show, and I'm sure we'll have lots more conversations coming in the future.
Oh, definitely. So, thank you so much, Howie. Yes. This has been a blast.
Yeah. So just remember, whether it's your, if you know, well, first of all, if you know someone who should come on the show who's got an awesome background like Xenia has, bring them on the show, put their name in the comments, contact me, and we'll get them on here. These kinds of stories, we really want to share with a lot of people, because a lot of people have things to share that are really interesting and empowering to people who are in whatever situations, like Xenia can help. So just remember now, if it's your family, your business, or your community organization, remember, it's money that make those gears keep turning. Make sure your money is working in the most effective way it can. Thanks for being here, Xenia. See you next time.
Thank you, Howie. Bye, everyone.